Hi, my name is Daniela Eufrasio and I'm in English 1302-91C. For my first question, I learned how to compose a post by narrowing down my information to make it interesting for my audience. You see, in the past I would deal with this by just watching videos and writing down my own summary without planning what to do or how it would be best to explain. I would just simply write it down on how I would understand, since I am the one that saw the video or the article, and write down the most important thing for me. I would just do it to get a good grade and say that I actually explained it well to my audience, which in reality I would just explain what I wanted and not what was actually important for them. In this class, I learned to write every piece of information you can about your topic, the research you're focusing on, what would be the main points of the video or article, what do you believe your audience will understand by placing yourself in their shoes and reading your points. Imagine you've never seen the video, you just watched the article you just read. Would it be good enough information to understand what you're trying to explain? Is it good enough for your audience to understand and be interested? This is one of my examples of how I narrowed down my information from the videos I saw and how I thought it would be best to explain to them, and how I imagined that I didn't read the story or I didn't even watch the videos and see how well I understood. And so this is a closer up look. I put the place and why the protest started and what was the abuse that they were going through, like the cause and effect of what happened. And that's what I did for both. And I also did this, which is my plan of how I want to take the notes and what I'm looking for my audience to understand a better way. And well, this is some of the steps I gather. First the 100 steps and then the gather steps. And so yeah, this is my examples. And in the future, I could use this knowledge by paying more attention to what my audience needs and understands, not only for my classes, but in real life. How will I help people understand my points and call their attention on the information I gathered or made? How will I make them act upon my points and if they will understand in a better way? For question 2, I learned that my research doesn't have to be boring. You can make it fun in your own way. In the past, I thought that when they said we have to do a research, they meant a 6-page article. I would always envision people writing thousands of words and basically just stating facts over and over again, just putting different informations they found on the internet into one single research paper. I thought that the research paper was just black and white theme, like we've always been taught that is how you present an actual research paper. But in this class, I learned that you can show the way you do your research. That research can be fun if you want it. You can make it in different types of way, whether it be infographics, videos, or images, just as long as you presented what you learned. You could pass on the information you gathered to your public in a fun way, the best way you think you could possibly create so your audience could be attracted to what you're giving them. I've learned that research doesn't have to be your stereotypical research paper, like the way we've always been taught that you have to create. Like I said, that you have to investigate and just put the information that you gathered into a one single essay. And so this is one of my examples that I created as a fun way, which will be this, a video or this. So this is a video that I created, and and well, this is just a fun way to give my points, as you can see. And so yeah. And in the future, I can use this knowledge by knowing that studies or research are not boring, so not quickly think that it would be another one of those 5 to 6 page research papers, that it can be whatever the person decides to make as. So now I will know how not to bore my audience, or how I would want to be presented with my research. I could just present it to them like that because I know that it will be interesting and not just another boring paper. And so for my second example of what I learned is that not all the sources you find in the internet are 100% accurate. You see, in the past, I would have believed that everything on Google or the internet was true. I wouldn't doubt a word they said. I would just use their information to complete my assignment or whatever it was that I needed to do, and I wouldn't double check for background information or for more than just a website name. I wouldn't care. I would just get the information because I've always been taught that whatever you find in Google, it's like correct. And because everybody depends on it, basically, in like finding information. In this class, I learned that not to really think about the person who wrote this. Are they reliable? Are they someone who knows expertly about your topic I'm researching? I learned to find more information that makes my source reliable, one that I would trust to use, and that it was the most reliable source I could find. I learned to do the background check on the author. I learned to check if the website was real. I went through a lot of steps to find this out. So I wouldn't like mess up and like give false information to my audience because the website wasn't reliable or something like that. And this is my examples of what I had to do to like investigate the background about my website. So to get a better look at it, this is another example, which is I did 3 of this for each of my source. And this is my second one, which I had to find the currency, what is the timeless of the information, relevance, the importance of the information for your needs, authority, like how credible is this information, accuracy, how reliable, like I said, it has to be reliable so you can use it, and the purpose, like what are the reasons that this information exists, and if you think it was actually like true, like do you trust the source, and if yes, does it pass? And I gave a brief summary of why I thought it was correct, like it was a reliable source to use. And this is my another one, but I did the same thing. And this is my third one. And so, yeah. And in the future, I know how to dive more into the source I want to use to make sure I can trust it. I don't want to inform my public false information, like I said, and run the risk on making something bad because I wasn't well informed, like give them like false information where they could like keep sharing on, and like more people are gonna like trust the sources that are like wrong and like don't really have like the information that you want to give. And so, yeah. For question 3, I learned that I can't just copy and paste the information from my secondary sources. You see, in the past, I would just transfer the information I read in the articles or videos to the essay I was doing. I wouldn't have given any points of my own. I would just think that whatever they said was correct, and my opinion wasn't really that important. I would just give them explanations of what my source said, and never about what I thought was correct for me. So I would basically like not give anything that I thought was correct because I always thought that like my opinion would be wrong, or that they would always, like I said, be correct, and like I would just like give false information to my audience about what I thought. But in this class, I learned that the most important thing about my research is my explanations, whether it be my explaining or my opinion or explaining the sources, that I shouldn't just copy paste. I should write my own investigation and in my own words of what I think. I shouldn't just like transfer the information into my research, because it's gonna be the same thing that as if like they're looking at the source I'm like explaining. And so this is like one example that I use in my class of the gap where you have to find like a point that you think one of your sources or all of your sources are missing from explaining, and that you think is like really important to like give to your audience, which is that. And here are the example I made. The example I made for it, and it was about how Mexican women run the risk like in protests on the streets just to like communicate online. And that's what I thought that all my sources were missing to explain, like the risk they run every day when they like go out and protest. And so yeah, here's a closer look about it. Sorry. And yeah. And so then in the future, I can use this by voicing what I think is missing in my research. Like now I know that whatever I think, like it can be like another way of me explaining. And by giving the points that I think need to be included in my information. Not only for me to learn, but for my audience I aiming for. Like for them to have like a better understanding of like my point of view and to see if they agree to it too. And I would like to give them the full information just as I would like for someone to explain the topic to me. So I would want to give them what I researched for, and like I would like to give them the full information just like I would like for someone else to give it to me if I was interested in that topic. And so for my question 4, I learned that in order to call to action my audience, I have to first identify them. In the past, I would have believed everyone was interested in my information, that everybody would want to know my research was about, and only that, I would try to make the post for all the public. I would have believed that everyone liked my posts and would be intrigued by them. But that's not the reality. Because in this class, I learned that not everyone cares about my research, honestly. That there is only a certain amount of people who actually care about my information and that are interested in it. What I have to give them and talk about. You have to create your call to action towards the ones that are interested in your topic. Because in reality, you're never going to convince everybody. Even as hard as you try, you're not everybody's going to be interested in that topic. Doesn't matter how hard you try. So I learned to aim for my audience that cares about my research. And so this is one of my examples of who I was aiming it for, which would be my target audiences are women and men that want to listen to a situation that is going on with women in Mexico and that actually want to help out in their protest by sharing online or going out with them to protest and put it online so more people can know about it. And in the future, I can use this so I won't have to stress over satisfying everybody that hears about my information. I had to learn that only a certain amount of people will care about my research. So I'm going to try and aim more into the site that likes it and are interested in my topic. So hopefully in the future, I'll be successful in convincing my audience to my call to action. And like I said, and I won't have to worry about what everybody else thinks because not everybody's really gonna like it. And so for my question 5, what I now know about composing posts for my audience is that I have to simplify things, make them straight to the point. In the past, I would have made a big summary to try to explain to my audience what I learned from my topic. I would have explained the whole 5-minute video on the articles. I would think that would be informing them enough so they would understand. So I was basically giving them the whole article of my sources or the video, like I said. But in this class, I learned that you can just put what you simply learn. To make things short and to the point. Don't explain the little things that don't matter in your research and focus on the key points that the video or the article you're watching. What are they focusing on? What are they trying to explain or what are they trying to get you to understand? Because if you make it long, your audience will lose focus, or if you focus on the little things, your audience might get lost. One of my examples is the analysis worksheet, which is a short summary of what I was trying to explain and what I would include in my video, and I mean in my post. And so this is my research question, and yeah, there's several steps that I did to make it short. And in the future, I can use this knowledge by knowing how to simplify things so my audience won't lose focus on whatever I'm presenting or whatever I'm trying to get to people to understand. I can apply it in my future classes or my future social media posts, if I'm trying to make a fundraiser or a campaign or something. Now I know what I can do, and I can apply this learning anywhere I go because when you explain good, the people will have a better chance at remembering your information and learning what you're trying to make them understand and learn. For my question 6, what I learned about communicating with my peers is that we all have similar problems and we can all help each other out. In the past, I would have just kept it to myself because it would have been hard for me to admit that I was having problems, just because I would be afraid that I was the only one with that problem. That maybe others were having harder problems than me. I would have thought that I wasn't thinking hard enough to find a solution or that I wasn't really researching on what to do. I would have never shared the difficulties I would be having with each post. But in this class, I learned that in the discussions, everybody would have similar problems. I learned to communicate with my classmates and I would also help them. And what would I do situations? This helped me a lot in evolving and getting better grades in my post. Without the help I asked for, I don't think I would have made a good progress. Because in reality, they helped me a lot. So this is one example of how I learned that people were having similar problems as I was, because as you can see, my classmate was having problems with also what they would do and whether it be a video or an infographic, and I was having the same exact problem in that same post. So yeah, I thought it was a really good example of how I could find I could feel comfortable with asking them because I knew that some were having the same problems and that we could help each other out. And in the future, I could use this as an experience for asking for help with any type of situations I'm having, and not to be shy of whether someone else is having that problem. Because maybe communicating with each other, we can find a solution. Because I believe now that many would probably have the same problem as I am, or if they're not, um, they could still help me out. And for question 7, what I know about feedback is that it helps you a lot with whatever you're having problems with. In the past, I would think feedback wasn't really much help because I would think that nobody knew what I was really going through. Therefore, they wouldn't know how to help me. Like, they didn't have like an idea of like how I wanted my research or how I wanted to present it or like what I wanted to do in general. But in this class, I learned that feedback does help you when you're stuck in situations on what should I do or what would be better. And you give people some information on your project, they will help you a lot. Or if you're having problems with something and another peer can relate, you feel better because you know that you're not the only one that's having that problem. And like I said, you can help each other out. But mostly if you give them a piece of information, they will help you. And like I said before in the past, like I wouldn't trust it. I would be doubtful about using it because I would think that they didn't really know what I was like experiencing or like what I wanted to present. But this is one example of me asking for help because I was having difficulties with the music that I wanted to present in a video, and I didn't want to get like copyrighted. And my classmates helped me a lot. They gave me info about what link I should use or like what they knew about it, like how not to get copyrighted. And that's for project 2 in my Instagram. So then this is project 2, which this is a song I used using the app they told me to, and it helped me a lot. And I also have this example of when I asked what should I do, whether a video or an infographic, and my classmate helped me by giving me the advice of using a small video to present my data, which would be project 4, which is this one. And I think it came out like it's a pretty good video of me presenting my information. And in the future, I can use this knowledge because now every time that I get feedback, I am going to use it because it might make my project or whatever I'm doing better since it has more thoughts behind it than just mine. And sometimes you need somebody else's feedback to learn because when you think about it so much, like I think your mind gets blocked of what like you should do. And if you just give them a little bit of your draft or a little bit of information of what you're trying to do, I think their feedback would be really helpful. And that's what I learned this year. And for my question 8, what I would tell myself in the past, from what I've learned throughout this like semester, is that I would tell her that this way it would be like the best way to learn English, like the class. That it won't be that easy, but not to overthink it because when the time comes, she will learn to create the post. Because like she would overthink too much, like of whether she was capable of doing it or like it would be super hard. And well, she will learn to teach like research in a fun way. I think that's the best way that you can present a research is like by making something that everybody likes, which is social media. That if her biggest worry was that their content was not going to be good enough, not to worry because if you make a mistake, Bonnie will help her through it and give her advice on what she should change. And that really helps you a lot. That gives you a lot of confidence that you will do good because you know that somebody's there to help you. And the best way to overcome her concerns and fears is just not to overthink it, like I said. Because if it's good enough or it's informative, like you give every point that you think it's important and you inform yourself good, because it would be a good post. Because you put enough time and effort into it. So I think it would be a good semester if she didn't overthink it and just like would go along because she'll know what to do. Like I said, when the time comes, and if not, Bonnie could help a lot. So that would be all. Thank you.